Jake thought Tuesday, March 15th would be just another ordinary day. He woke up at 6:30 a.m., kissed his wife Luna goodbye as she headed to her morning yoga class, and drove to his job at the engineering firm downtown. The sun was shining, birds were singing, and life felt perfectly normal. But sometimes life has other plans. It started with a simple phone call from Dr. Peterson's office. "Can you come in this afternoon? We need to discuss your test results." The nurse's voice sounded different somehow, too careful, too gentle. Jake had gone for a routine checkup 2 weeks earlier. Nothing serious, just the usual stuff men in their 30s do. Blood work, basic scans. Checking everything was working fine. He felt completely healthy, sure. He'd been a little more tired lately, and sometimes his stomach bothered him after eating. But who doesn't deal with stress these days? The waiting room at the medical center smelled like disinfectant and old magazines. Jake sat there for what felt like hours, watching other patients come and go. Some looked worried, others seemed relaxed. He tried to guess what each person was there for, anything to keep his mind busy. When Dr. Peterson finally called his name, Jake noticed something in the doctor's eyes he'd never seen before. 20 years of friendship, and the man couldn't even look at him properly. "Sit down, Jake," Dr. Peterson said, closing the door behind them. "I wish I had better news." Those words hit like a truck. Jake felt his chest tighten. His hands started sweating. "What's wrong, Doc?" Dr. Peterson pulled up some images on his computer screen. Black and white pictures that looked like abstract art to Jake, but he could tell they meant something terrible. "We found something in your pancreas. It's not good news." The word cancer seemed to echo in the small room. "Stage 3. Aggressive. 6 months, maybe 8 if they started treatment immediately." Jake heard the words, but they felt like they were coming from underwater. This couldn't be happening to him. He was 34 years old. He ate vegetables. Sometimes he went to the gym twice a week. "Are you sure?" Jake asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Maybe the machines made a mistake. Maybe it's someone else's results." Dr. Peterson's expression said everything. No mistake. No mix-up. This was real. Jake called Luna from the hospital parking lot. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely dial her number. When she answered, her voice was bright and cheerful. She just finished her yoga class and was thinking about stopping by the grocery store. "Hey honey, how did the appointment go?" Jake tried to speak, but no words came out. "How do you tell the person you love most that your whole world just fell apart? Jake, are you there? Is everything okay? Can you come to the hospital? I need to tell you something." The silence on the other end of the line lasted forever. Then Luna's voice, suddenly serious, "I'm on my way. 20 minutes. Later, she was there. Jake watched her walk across the parking lot, her long dark hair catching the afternoon sunlight. She moved with a grace that had always amazed him, like she was floating instead of walking. Even now, in this horrible moment, she was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. They sat in his car, and he told her everything. The diagnosis, the timeline, the treatment options. Luna listened without saying a word, her face completely calm. Too calm, Jake thought. Why wasn't she crying? Why wasn't she falling apart like he was? Instead, she took his hands in hers and looked directly into his eyes. Her own eyes seemed different somehow, more intense than usual. There was something behind them, something that reminded Jake of a storm gathering strength. "No," she said. Simply, "Luna, I know this is hard to accept, but we need to face reality. The doctors say no." Her voice was stronger this time, more determined. "I won't let this happen to you." Jake had always known Luna was special. When they met 3 years ago, she'd seemed almost too good to be true. She was incredibly smart, spoke several languages perfectly, and had knowledge about science and technology that amazed everyone who met her. She said she'd grown up traveling the world with her diplomat parents, which explained her unusual accent and her sometimes strange way of looking at things. But right now, sitting in that car, Jake saw something in his wife he'd never seen before. a kind of fierce determination that went beyond normal human emotion. It was almost frightening. "The doctors know what they're talking about," Jake said gently. "This isn't something we can just refuse to accept." Luna was quiet for a long moment, staring out the windshield. When she spoke again, her voice was different, colder, more calculated. "There are things you don't know about me, Jake. Things I've never told you because I wanted to protect you. But now," she turned to look at him again, "now everything has changed." "What are you talking about?" Luna reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. But instead of making a regular call, she did something strange with the device. Her fingers moved over it in a pattern Jake had never seen before, almost like she was typing in some kind of code. The phone screen flickered and changed, showing symbols that definitely weren't English. "Luna, what are you doing?" She looked at him with an expression that was both loving and terrifying. "I'm saving your life, no matter what it costs." As Jake watched his wife work with technology that seemed impossible, typing messages in a language he'd never seen before, one thought kept running through his mind. Who exactly had he married? The sun was setting outside the car windows, painting the hospital parking lot in shades of orange and red. Other people walked by, heading home to their normal lives, their normal problems. Jake envied them. 6 hours ago, he'd been one of them. Now he was sitting next to a wife who apparently had secrets he'd never imagined, facing a future that seemed impossible to survive. But as he watched Luna's determined face in the fading light, Jake felt something unexpected. Hope. He didn't understand what was happening, but he knew one thing for certain. Luna wasn't going to let him die without a fight, and something told him this fight was going to be unlike anything the world had ever seen. The next morning, Jake woke up hoping yesterday had been a nightmare, but the stack of medical papers on his nightstand told him otherwise. Stage 3 pancreatic cancer, 6 to 8 months. The words hit him fresh, like a punch to the gut. Luna was already awake, sitting by the window with her laptop. She'd been there since dawn, typing away at something Jake couldn't see. Her fingers moved faster than anyone he'd ever watched, almost like she was playing a complex piece of music instead of just typing. "Couldn't sleep?" Jake asked, sitting up in bed. Luna turned to him with a smile, but Jake could see the tiredness in her eyes. "I've been doing research," she said simply. "There are options the doctors here might not know about." Jake felt a spark of hope, followed immediately by worry. "What kind of options?" "Advanced treatment centers, experimental procedures, clinical trials." Luna closed her laptop and came to sit beside him on the bed. "Jake, I need you to trust me completely. Can you do that?" There was something in her voice that made Jake's heart race. Not fear, exactly, but a feeling that his life was about to change in ways he couldn't imagine. "Of course I trust you. You're my wife." "Good. Because today we're going to meet some people who might be able to help us." 2 hours later, they were driving across town to a part of the city Jake rarely visited. Old warehouses, empty lots, and buildings that had seen better days. Luna navigated the streets like she'd been there 100 times before, which was strange because Jake was pretty sure they'd never been to this neighborhood together. "Where exactly are we going?" Jake asked as Luna pulled into the parking lot of what looked like an abandoned office building. "To see Dr. Chen," Luna replied. "She's a specialist." The building didn't look like any medical facility Jake had ever seen. The windows were tinted black, and there was no sign indicating what kind of business operated inside. Luna led him to a side entrance where she pressed her hand against what looked like a normal security panel. Instead of beeping like a regular system, the panel glowed with a soft blue light and scanned her palm. "That's some high-tech security for a doctor's office," Jake commented. Luna glanced at him with an expression he couldn't read. Dr. Chen values her privacy. Inside, the building was nothing like Jake expected. The hallways were clean and modern, with lighting that seemed to come from the walls themselves rather than regular fixtures. Everything was white and silver, giving the place an almost futuristic feel. It reminded Jake of something from a science fiction movie. They walked past several doors, each one marked only with numbers. Jake noticed there were no typical medical office sounds, no phones ringing, No conversations from waiting rooms, no intercom announcements. The whole place was eerily quiet. Dr. Chen's office was at the end of the hall. When Luna knocked, a voice called out in what sounded like a foreign language. Luna responded in the same language. Speaking fluently, Jake had no idea his wife knew whatever language that was. The door opened to reveal a woman about Luna's age with short black hair and unusually bright green eyes. She looked at Jake with intense curiosity, like she was studying him for a science project. "So this is your husband," Dr. Chen said, her accent similar to Luna's but somehow different. "Please, come in." The office looked more like a laboratory than a medical consultation room. Strange equipment lined the walls, devices that hummed quietly and displayed patterns of light Jake had never seen before. Dr. Chen gestured for them to sit in chairs that adjusted automatically to their bodies. "Luna has told me about your condition," Dr. Chen began, pulling up Jake's medical records on a screen that appeared to be made of thin air. "The diagnosis from your human doctors is accurate but incomplete." "Human doctors," Jake repeated, "as opposed to what other kind?" Luna and Dr. Chen exchanged a look that made Jake feel like he was missing something important. "What I mean," Dr. Chen continued smoothly, "is that conventional medicine has limitations. There are treatment methods that aren't widely known or accepted yet." For the next hour, Dr. Chen explained things that sounded impossible. Cellular regeneration therapy, molecular reconstruction, treatment methods that could not only stop cancer, but actually reverse the damage it had caused. She showed Jake images and data that were far beyond anything he'd seen at the regular hospital. "This sounds amazing," Jake said, "but how come my regular doctors don't know about this stuff?" "Because it's still experimental," Luna answered quickly. "Only a few specialists around the world have access to this technology." Dr. Chen nodded. "The research is conducted privately, independent from government oversight or pharmaceutical companies. It allows us to move faster. Try things that would take years to approve through normal channels." Jake looked around the strange office again. The equipment, the technology, even the way Dr. Chen moved seemed different from any medical facility he'd ever been in. "How long have you been working on this kind of treatment?" "Longer than you might think," Dr. Chen replied with a small smile. My research team has been developing these methods for decades." Something about the way she said "my people" stuck with Jake. But before he could think too much about it, Luna was squeezing his hand. "The important thing," Luna said, "is that Dr. Chen believes she can help you, but the treatment has to start soon." "What does the treatment involve?" Jake asked. Dr. Chen pulled up a complex diagram on her floating screen. "We would need to do several sessions over the next few weeks. The process involves introducing specialized cells into your system that can target and eliminate the cancer while rebuilding healthy tissue." "Specialized cells from where?" Another look passed between Luna and Dr. Chen. "They're grown in our laboratory," Dr. Chen explained. "Engineered specifically for your genetic makeup." Jake felt overwhelmed. 24 hours ago, his biggest worry was a presentation at work. Now he was sitting in what looked like a secret laboratory, being offered miracle treatments by a doctor who seemed to have access to technology that was years ahead of anything he'd ever heard of. "I need some time to think about this," Jake said. "Time is something we don't have much of," Luna said gently. "Your condition is aggressive. Every day we wait makes the treatment more difficult." Jake looked at his wife, really looked at her. Her eyes held secrets he was only beginning to suspect. Her calm confidence in this impossible situation, the way she seemed to know exactly where to bring him, exactly who to talk to. "Luna," he said slowly, "how did you find Dr. Chen? How do you know about all this?" Luna was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer than usual. "There are things about my past I've never told you, Jake. Things I kept secret to protect both of us. But now, with your life in danger, I can't keep those secrets anymore." "What kind of things?" "The kind that might be hard for you to believe. The kind that might change how you see me forever." Jake reached for Luna's hand. Despite everything that was happening, despite the fear and confusion, one thing remained clear. "You're my wife. Whatever you need to tell me, we'll figure it out together. Luna smiled, but Jake could see tears in her eyes. I hope you still feel that way after you know the truth. As they prepared to leave Dr. Chen's office, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that he was stepping into a world he never knew existed. A world where his wife had connections to technology that seemed impossible. Where doctors worked in secret facilities, and where maybe, just maybe, there was hope for a future he thought was lost. But first, he needed to know who Luna really was. 3 days later, Jake found himself back at Dr. Chen's facility. But this time they took him to a completely different floor. Luna led him through corridors he hadn't seen before. Deeper into the building, the walls here seemed to pulse with a soft, warm light that made Jake feel strangely calm. Are you ready for this? Luna asked, stopping outside a door marked only with the symbol that looked like a circle. With 3 curved lines through it. Jake took a deep breath. His regular doctors had been pushing him to start chemotherapy immediately. But Luna had convinced him to try Dr. Chen's treatment first. I'm scared, he admitted, but I trust you. Luna squeezed his hand. That means everything to me. The treatment room was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. Instead of cold metal tables and harsh lights, everything was curved and smooth. The walls showed moving patterns of light that reminded him of ocean waves. In the center of the room was something that looked like a cross between a hospital bed and a spaceship pod. Dr. Chen was waiting for them, along with 2 assistants Jake hadn't met before. One was a tall man with silver hair who moved with an unusual grace, and the other was a young woman whose eyes seemed to change color in the shifting light. Welcome, Jake, Dr. Chen said. Today we begin the real work. As Jake lay down on the strange bed, he felt it adjust perfectly to his body. Sensors appeared from nowhere, gently attaching to his arms and chest. They didn't hurt at all. In fact, they felt warm and comforting. What exactly is going to happen? Jake asked. We're going to introduce healing cells into your bloodstream, Dr. Chen explained, preparing what looked like an IV. But the liquid inside wasn't like any medicine Jake had ever seen. It glowed with a soft blue light and seemed to move on its own. These cells will seek out the cancer and begin repairing the damage. Jake watched as the glowing liquid entered his body. At first, he felt nothing. Then, slowly, a warm sensation spread through his chest. It wasn't unpleasant. Actually, it felt good, like drinking hot chocolate on a cold day, but from the inside. The healing process takes about 2 hours, the silver-haired assistant said. His voice had an accent Jake couldn't place. You might experience some unusual sensations. That was putting it mildly. After 30 minutes, Jake began to feel stronger than he had in months. The constant tiredness that had been weighing him down simply disappeared. After an hour, he could actually feel something happening inside his chest, not painful, but definitely different. It was like his body was rebuilding itself. But the strangest part wasn't physical. Jake started having what he could only describe as visions. Brief flashes of places he'd never been, cities with buildings that seemed to grow out of crystal, skies with 2 suns, landscapes that looked both beautiful and impossible. Luna, he whispered. I'm seeing things. Luna moved closer to him, her face concerned. What kind of things? Places, beautiful places, but not from Earth. Jake looked at his wife with growing understanding. They're from your home, aren't they? Luna's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Dr. Chen, who nodded slightly. Jake, Luna said softly, there's something I need to tell you, something I should have told you 3 years ago. The warm feeling in Jake's body was getting stronger. He could actually sense the cancer cells being destroyed and healthy cells taking their place. But more than that, he was becoming aware of things he'd never noticed before. The way Luna's heartbeat sounded different from a normal human's. The way Dr. Chen and her assistants moved with perfect coordination, like they were all connected. Somehow, you're not from here, Jake said. It wasn't a question anymore. None of you are from Earth. Luna took his hand. I'm from a star system about 40 light years away. My people have been visiting Earth for decades, studying your planet, learning about humans. Some of us even live here permanently. Jake stared at his wife, his alien wife, and surprisingly, he wasn't afraid. Maybe it was the healing treatment making him feel so calm. Or maybe it was just that everything suddenly made sense. That's why you speak so many languages. Why you know so much about science and technology. Why you seem to understand things that nobody taught you. Yes, Luna said. And it's why I can save you. Our medical technology is centuries ahead of what humans have developed. Dr. Chen approached with a tablet showing Jake's body scan in real time. Jake could see the cancer literally disappearing as they watched. The healing cells were working exactly as promised. Your people, Jake said, looking around at Dr. Chen and her assistants. How many of you are living on Earth? More than you might think, Dr. Chen replied. We work as doctors, scientists, teachers. We've been helping humanity advance while trying not to interfere too much. Why the secrecy? The young woman assistant spoke for the first time. Because humans aren't ready for the truth yet. Contact between species has to happen gradually, or it causes chaos. Jake thought about this as the treatment continued. But you're breaking the rules by helping me. Yes, Luna said simply, and there might be consequences. But I couldn't let you die when I had the power to save you. As the second hour passed, Jake felt incredible. Not just healthy, better than he'd felt in years. His vision was sharper, his hearing more acute. He could even sense things about the people around him, almost like reading their emotions. Is this normal? He asked Dr. Chen. The treatment doesn't just remove the cancer, she explained. It optimizes your entire system. You're still completely human. But now you're the best version of yourself that's possible. When the treatment finished, Jake sat up on the table and felt like he could run a marathon. The constant pain in his stomach was gone. The fatigue that had been dragging him down for months had vanished completely. But as he looked at Luna, he realized something important had changed between them. Not in a bad way, if anything. He loved her more now that he knew the sacrifice she was making for him. But they're simple. Quiet life was over forever. What happens now? Jake asked Luna. And Dr. Chen exchanged another one of their looks. Now we hope that my people don't find out what we've done, Luna said. Because if they do, I might not be allowed to stay on Earth anymore. Jake felt a chill despite his improved health. They would make you leave, using our technology on humans without permission is a serious violation of our laws, Dr. Chen said. The penalty could be exile from Earth for all of us involved. Jake looked at his wife, this incredible woman who had risked everything to save his life. Then we'll just have to make sure they don't find out. But even as he said it, Jake had a feeling it wouldn't be that simple. His body felt different, enhanced in ways that might be hard to hide. And Luna had mentioned there were others of her people living on Earth. How long before someone noticed what had happened to him as they prepared to leave the facility? Jake realized his life had been saved, but at a cost none of them fully understood. Yet, he was no longer just a regular human, and Luna was no longer just his wife with an interesting background. They were now part of something much bigger and more dangerous than a simple cancer diagnosis, and somewhere out there, people were watching. 2 weeks after Jake's first treatment, everything went wrong. Jake was feeling better than he had in years. The cancer was completely gone, and his body felt stronger and more alive than ever before. He'd even started noticing things he'd never been aware of. He could hear conversations from 3 rooms away, see details in the distance that should have been impossible, and somehow sense when people were lying to him. Luna had explained that these were normal side effects of the healing process. His human body was adapting to the advanced medical treatment, becoming more than it had been before. Jake was amazed by the changes, but Luna seemed worried about something she wouldn't discuss. That Tuesday morning, Jake was at work when his enhanced hearing picked up a conversation that made his blood run cold. 2 men in the hallway outside his office were talking in low voices about unusual energy readings and subjects displaying non-human capabilities. The target works in this building, one of them said. Recent medical anomaly, showing impossible recovery rates. Orders are to bring him in for questioning, the other replied. Quietly, Jake's heart started racing. They were talking about him, somehow, Someone had discovered what Dr. Chen had done. He quickly called Luna, trying to keep his voice calm. "We have a problem. I think we're being watched." "I know," Luna said, her voice tight with worry. "Dr. Chen called me an hour ago. Government agents raided her facility this morning." Jake felt the world spinning around him. "Is she okay?" "She got away, but barely." "Jake, you need to get out of your office right now. Don't go home. Meet me at the coffee shop on 5th Street. Jake grabbed his jacket and headed for the elevator. But it was too late. As the doors opened, two men in dark suits stepped inside with him. One was tall and thin with cold gray eyes. The other shorter, but built like he spent all day in the gym. "Jake Wilson?" the tall one asked, though it was clear they already knew who he was. "Yeah, that's me. Can I help you?" "Agent Rodriguez, government." "Security," the man said, showing a badge that looked official but somehow wrong. "We need to ask you some questions about your recent medical treatment." Jake's enhanced senses immediately told him these men were dangerous. There was something about their heartbeats, their breathing, the way they moved that wasn't quite human. Just like Luna and Dr. Chen, but different somehow, threatening. "I don't know what you're talking about," Jake said, trying to sound confused. "Your cancer recovery." Agent Rodriguez continued as the elevator descended. "Your doctors are amazed by your progress. They're calling it medically impossible." The elevator reached the ground floor, but instead of opening to the lobby, the doors revealed an empty parking garage. Jake realized they had somehow taken control of the building's systems. "This isn't the ground floor," Jake said. "No, it's not," the shorter agent said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "We need somewhere private to talk." Jake knew he was in serious trouble. His enhanced abilities kicked in, and he could sense more people waiting in the shadows of the parking garage, at least 6 others, all with the same not quite human feeling about them. "Look, I don't know what you want, but I haven't done anything wrong," Jake said. "Using illegal alien technology on human subjects is a federal crime," Agent Rodriguez said, "as is harboring foreign beings without proper documentation." So they knew. They knew about Luna, about Dr. Chen, about everything. "I want a lawyer," Jake said. "I'm afraid that's not how this works," Agent Rodriguez replied, pulling out a device that looked like a cross between a cell phone and a medical scanner. "We need to run some tests first." That's when Jake heard it, a sound like wind rushing through trees. But they were in an underground garage. The temperature in the air suddenly dropped 20 degrees. Agent Rodriguez and his partner spun around, and Jake saw something that made his enhanced vision go crazy. Luna was walking toward them across the parking garage, but she wasn't walking. Normally, she was moving faster than any human could move, and her eyes were glowing with a soft blue light. "Let my husband go," Luna said, her voice carrying an authority that made the concrete walls seem to vibrate. "Lady Kara of the Andromedan Council," Agent Rodriguez said, and Jake was shocked to hear respect in his voice. "You're in violation of the Non-Interference Treaty, and you're in violation of the Protection Accords," Luna replied. "This human is under my personal guarantee." Jake stared at his wife, Lady Kara, Andromedan Council. Who exactly had he married? "Your guarantee means nothing here," the shorter agent said, raising his scanner device. "Earth is under new management." That's when everything went crazy. Luna moved so fast she seemed to blur. One second she was 30 feet away. The next she was standing between Jake and the agents. The scanner device went flying across the garage and shattered against a concrete pillar. "Jake, stay behind me," Luna said, but her voice sounded different. Now, stronger, more commanding. The other agents emerged from the shadows, all carrying weapons that definitely weren't made on Earth. They formed a circle around Luna and Jake, their devices humming with energy. "You can't fight all of us," Agent Rodriguez said. "Watch me," Luna replied. What happened next was like something out of a movie. Luna's body seemed to change, becoming taller and more graceful. Her skin took on a faint luminescent quality, and when she moved, it was like watching lightning in human form. She disarmed 3 agents before they could even react. The weapons went flying, clattering across the concrete floor, when two more tried to flank her. She somehow sensed them coming and spun around, moving in ways that defied physics. But there were too many of them. As Luna fought, Jake realized these weren't human government agents at all. They moved like Luna did, with the same inhuman grace and speed. They were aliens too, but from somewhere else. Jake, Luna called out as the agents grabbed him. Don't let them scan you. Jake tried to pull away, but the agents were incredibly strong. One of them pressed a device against his forehead, and immediately Jake felt something probing his mind. It was invasive and painful, like someone rifling through his memories. Through the mental invasion, Jake heard Luna cry out in anger. The sound was unlike anything he'd ever heard from her before. Not quite human, but filled with such rage that it made the garage lights flicker. When Jake's vision cleared, half the agents were down, and Luna was standing over Agent Rodriguez with her hand around his throat. Her eyes were glowing brighter now, and Jake could see that her fingernails had become sharp and metallic. "Tell your superiors," Luna said in a voice that echoed strangely in the enclosed space, "that Jake Wilson is under the protection of the Andromedan Royal Guard. Any further interference will be considered an act of war." Agent Rodriguez nodded weakly, and Luna released him. The remaining agents gathered their fallen comrades and retreated toward a section of the garage wall that somehow opened like a door. As they left, Agent Rodriguez turned back. "This isn't over, Lady Kara. The Council of Worlds has questions about your activities here. They'll send someone more persuasive next time." When they were gone, Luna slumped against a concrete pillar, her appearance returning to normal. But Jake could see the exhaustion in her eyes. "Royal Guard?" Jake asked quietly. Luna looked at him with an expression that was part love, part fear. "There's still so much you don't know about me." "Are we safe now?" Luna shook her head. "No, we're not safe at all. In fact, things are about to get much worse." As they made their way out of the garage, Jake realized that his quiet life with his amazing wife was officially over. He was now part of something bigger than he'd ever imagined, a conflict between different alien factions that had been going on long before he was born, and somehow saving his life had put him right in the middle of it. 3 months later, Jake stood on the roof of their apartment building, watching the sunrise paint the city in shades of gold and pink. His life had become something he never could have imagined, but somehow he'd never been happier. After the confrontation in the parking garage, Luna had finally told him everything. Her real name was Lady Kara Stellaris, and she was part of an ancient royal family from the Andromeda Galaxy. She'd come to Earth as part of a peaceful observation mission, but had fallen in love with both the planet and with Jake. The aliens who'd attacked them weren't from her people. They belonged to a faction called the Dominion Council, who believed that advanced species should control less developed ones. They'd been secretly working to take over Earth for decades, placing their agents in government positions and preparing for eventual conquest. But Luna's actions had changed everything. "Jake," Luna called from behind him. She stepped out onto the roof, carrying 2 cups of coffee and looking more beautiful than ever in the morning light. "Dr. Chen is here. She has news." Jake turned from the sunrise view. Over the past few months, he'd learned to read Luna's expressions better than any human language. Right now, she looked hopeful but cautious. They went back inside, where Dr. Chen was waiting in their living room. She looked different than before, more relaxed, less secretive. There was even a smile on her face. "Good news?" Jake asked, settling onto the couch next to Luna. "The best," Dr. Chen replied. "The Andromedan Council has officially recognized your marriage and granted you protected status. You're now considered a citizen of both worlds." Jake felt relief wash over him. 4 months. They'd been worried that Luna's people might force her to leave Earth or face punishment for breaking their laws. "What changed their minds?" Luna asked. Dr. Chen's smile grew wider. "Your little demonstration in the parking garage made quite an impression. When the Dominion agents reported back to their superiors, they described you as surprisingly formidable and suggested that humans might be more valuable as allies than as subjects." Jake laughed. "So Luna beating up those agents actually helped more?" "Then you know," Dr. Chen continued. The Andromedan Council has been looking for a reason to intervene against the Dominion for years. Your situation gave them the excuse they needed. They've officially opened diplomatic relations with Earth's legitimate governments. Luna took Jake's hand. There's more. Tell him about the program. Dr. Chen nodded. The Council wants to establish a formal exchange program between our species. Humans who show compatibility with our technology and values can receive advanced medical treatment and enhanced abilities. In return, they help bridge the gap between our cultures. Like what happened to me? Jake asked. Exactly like what happened. To you? You're not just the first human to receive our medical treatment. You're proof that the integratio can work. The Council wants you to be part of the program. Jake looked at Luna. What do you think? I think, Luna said, her eyes sparkling with excitement, that we could help a lot of people. And we could do it together. Over the next hour, Dr. Chen explained the details. The exchange program would start small, with a carefully selected group of humans receiving advanced medical treatments for serious conditions. Jake would work as a liaison, helping other humans understand what they were experiencing and teaching them to adapt to their enhanced abilities. Luna would serve as a cultural ambassador, helping her people understand human nature and values. Together, they would build the foundation for a new kind of relationship between species. There's one catch, Dr. Chen said as she prepared to leave. The program is secret for now. The general human population isn't ready to learn about our existence yet. That revelation will come gradually over the next several years. How gradually? Jake asked. Probably within the next decade, Dr. Chen replied. Maybe sooner, depending on how well the integration goes. After Dr. Chen left, Jake and Luna sat together on their couch, processing everything they'd learned. Jake's enhanced senses let him feel Luna's emotions as clearly as his own. Excitement, hope, and deep love. Are you okay with this? Luna asked. Your life is going to be very different from what you planned. Jake thought about it. 6 months ago, he'd been a regular engineer with a quiet life and a terminal cancer diagnosis. Now he was cancer-free, enhanced with abilities he was still discovering. Married to an alien princess and about to become Earth's first intergalactic ambassador. You know what's funny? Jake said. I spent my whole life playing it safe. Good job, stable income, predictable future. I thought that's what I wanted. And now I realized I was just waiting for the right adventure to come along. Jake pulled Luna closer to him. Besides, what kind of husband would I be if I didn't support my wife's career? In intergalactic diplomacy, Luna laughed, the sound like music in the quiet apartment. Your wife's career in intergalactic diplomacy. I never thought I'd hear those words. I love you, Jake said simply. Whether you're Luna from yoga class or Lady Carastellars from the Andromeda Galaxy, you saved my life in every way that matters. You saved mine too, Luna replied. Before I met you, I was just following orders, observing from a distance. You taught me what it means to really live, to take risks for something that matters. They spent the rest of the morning planning their future. Jake would finish his recovery and begin training for his new role. Luna would start working with Earth's governments to prepare for eventual contact. Together, they would help create a world where their love story wouldn't have to be a secret. 3 weeks later, Jake stood in a new medical facility, not hidden this time, but built with cooperation between human and Andromedan technology. Dr. Chen introduced him to their first patient, a young woman with the same type of cancer Jake had faced. This is going to sound crazy, Jake told her, but I want you to know that there's hope. Real hope. As he explained what was possible, Jake saw the same mixture of fear and desperate hope in her eyes that he felt sitting in Dr. Peterson's office. But this time, the story would be different. Luna was in another part of the facility, meeting with a group of scientists and government officials. Through their enhanced connection, Jake could feel her confidence and determination. She was in her element, building bridges between worlds. That evening, they walked home together through the city streets. To anyone watching, they looked like a normal couple, young, in love, planning their future together. No one could see the advanced technology they carried, or know about the other world Luna came from. But that would change soon enough, do you? Ever miss your old life? Luna asked as they stopped at a red light. Jake considered the question seriously. His old life had been simple, predictable, safe, no aliens, no enhanced abilities, no intergalactic politics. Not for a second, he said. Finally, that life was ending anyway. You didn't just save me from cancer. You saved me from a future that would have been too small for who I was meant to become. Luna smiled and squeezed his hand. Who we were meant to become. As they crossed the street together, Jake thought about everything that lay ahead. There would be challenges, certainly, more conflicts with groups like the Dominion, the difficult process of preparing humanity for contact with other species, the responsibility of being pioneers in a relationship that would help shape the future of both worlds. But there would also be wonders beyond imagination, advanced technology that could cure diseases and enhance human potential, knowledge from civilizations thousands of years older than Earth, the chance to be part of something greater than either of them could accomplish alone. Most importantly, there would be love, a love that had already proven strong enough to cross the vastness of space, break ancient laws, and face down hostile forces. Jake looked up at the evening sky, where stars were beginning to appear. Somewhere among them was Luna's home world, and now it was his home too. Somewhere else were the enemies they would face together, and the allies they would find. But right here, right now, walking through their city with his alien warrior wife, Jake felt like the luckiest man in any galaxy. Their story was just beginning.